It's Tuesday, April 17th, 2012. I'm Rim.
I'm Scott.
And this is Geeknights. Tonight, Mafia, or Werewolf, or Beantown, or whatever the fuck you call it.
Let's do this. So, it is finally warm again.
Warmer yesterday.
It won't be warm forever, you know.
It was warmer yesterday.
We had a record high warmness.
Yeah, so you know what?
In March.
I love New York City, but
there hasn't been a great number of April showers.
So, Scott, we had a heat wave for a good chunk of summer last year.
I do not remember this heat wave.
I can't believe you don't remember the record-setting heat wave that happened last year.
I'm beginning to think that it's possible that
you have Alzheimer's disease because you never remember anything?
That I am feeling colder than other people because at work, yesterday was much warmer than today.
Yeah, I got something to say about work and yesterday and much warmer, but we'll get to that.
One of my coworkers, we discussed the weather, like you do. He was like, it's hot. And I'm like,
it's not hot.
And I was like, yesterday, it's a little bit chilly,
To me,
but to them, it was 80 degrees, but, it was still a little bit chilly, even 80 degrees.
To me, hot means it's over about 88 degrees Fahrenheit. Like, above that, it's...
Hot means I turn the air conditioner on, which is almost never. Right? I mean, this is why I don't remember there being a heat wave last year, because I used my air conditioner more 2 years ago when I first moved in than I did last year.
Last year, on multiple days.
Last year, I used the air conditioner less than 2 years ago.
Scott, there was a weekend in August where there was an ozone warning, and I'm even the kind of person who's like, yeah, whatever, I'll go out in the stupid heat. And I go out in this 100-degree day biking with the ozone warning. I made it maybe half a mile before I couldn't go anymore.
I biked every warm day last year.
I don't think you biked that day.
I don't remember that specific day.
Well, Scott, you have latitude. I have latitude. We can go see if you biked that day.
Did it log everything?
Mine logs everything.
Anyway, so I was biking in the warmness on Sunday. I think it was Sunday. Or was it Saturday? I don't remember anymore. It was Sunday because I was still sickish on Saturday. So I went out to, instead of going to Manhattan like I usually do, or Brooklyn, I went to Flushing, to the park, because there's all awesome stuff over there.
I biked over to Rockaway. That's a really nice ride, and actually the beach is surprisingly pleasant.
Oh, far Rockaway.
Yeah, way out there.
So
I didn't go over the causeway because it was already 3 o'clock, and I wanted to get home, but...
So I went to Flushing, and I was going behind the Hall of Science, because I was going everywhere.
Yep.
And there's a dude, and I'm looking at this dude, and he looks like a nerdy dude. The kind of dude, the middle-aged nerd, the kind of guy, it's like he's got model trains in the basement, yo. He does, right? So I see this dude, and he's just standing there alone in this field behind the Hall of Science, nerdy place. And what is he doing? He's flying a kite. I can just tell looking at him, he's flying a kite.
Kite nerd?
I'm looking, and I'm like, where the fuck is the kite?
Mile up?
You can tell that he's holding a kite just by the way he's standing. I'm looking for the kite.
Scott, there's a prank.
The kite is a fucking dot. It is so far away, right? It is unbelievably far away. Just a regular old triangle, diamond style. And I'm like, holy shit. So I'm like, well, this guy could be a nerdy, scary guy, that kind. But I'm like, well, I'll talk to this guy. So I was like, hey, kite dude. And he's like, hey, what's going on? So apparently this dude, I got lucky. He was not scary. He was double awesome, right? Maybe even triple awesome. So not only was he a biking dude and a kiting dude, he was also the guy who does his job is the exhibit-making dude at the Hall of Science.
Really?
Yeah, so he makes the exhibits at the Hall of Science. He bikes. He lives to the east, right? So somewhere Long Island-ish. He bikes to the Hall of Science every day. And... I guess awesome at flying kites, and I guess general science and nerdiness.
Not bad.
And he was not scary or weird or socially inept in any way. And I was asking him about kites. He's like, yeah, if there's crazy wind, and he was pointing at the flag on the tennis stadium, right, to figure out what the wind was. And I was like, oh my, right? So he's like, if that flag is straight out, you need like a box kite. But see, the flag is only kind of half flapping today, so you use this regular kite. And he made the kite himself with the bamboo and whatever,
course.
And so I was like, so nerd find.
Speaking of nerd find, I did not follow up with this dude But, I was on the Amtrak Acela from Boston from PAX.
Oh, the one that did not make it?
The one that did not make it. I'll do a separate show. Maybe that'll be the Thursday show. What the fuck, Amtrak?
Amtrak sucks.
Seriously, Amtrak. I've ridden Amtrak trains 5 times in my life. Only once have I not had serious incidents.
I think the best experience I had in an Amtrak train was we took the auto train, which is you have to go to Virginia. And it only goes from Virginia to Florida. That's it. That I know of, right? And you put your car on the train, and then you get on the train, and then it takes you to Florida or vice versa, and then your car gets off. So you don't need to rent a car on the other end.
I took it to Albany once, and it was late, but not that late.
And it was, it took a while because it's an overnight train. I mean, you get on the train, you go to bed, you wake up, and then, you're in Florida and vice versa. But it worked. It didn't have any problems.
No.
And you got food on it, which was the equivalent of airline food. And had a dining car you could go in.
But anyway, to get past the shit no one cares about and back to mine. So when the train disaster happened, I'm standing on this platform in like Bridgeport, like that's where I ended up, and I'm trying to get home. There's this guy who keeps announcing like where trains are and which trains are going by. Like a train starts coming, and at one point I was like, I swear to God, if that's the Amtrak I got off, and it goes past the station, I'm throwing a motherfucking rock at it. And he's like, no, look at the lights. That's not an and he tells me this like train model number. And then I realize, like, I look at this guy and he's kind of scruffy, but he's wearing like an orange vest and he's got a walkie-talkie that has MTA and Amtrak people saying stuff. He was totally a Trainspotting nerd who came out in all the excitement to see what was going on.
Yeah, he was probably sitting at home listening to the train radio.
I can just
heard
imagine.
that something happened, and he's like, oh, man, action on the trail.
Yeah, so this was like his night to shine. And you know what? Crazy train guy, you were crazy, but you knew more about what was going on than any Amtrak or MTA employee I ran into that entire evening.
Well, because he was talking to the ones that were on the walkie-talkie, which are the ones that know something.
No, they didn't know shit.
The ones that know,
Nobody
Then how
knew
did
shit.
he know if the walkie-talkie wasn't telling him?
You know how he knew? Because he had this crazy timetable, and I don't know where he got it from, and he could recognize trains. So when one train went by, and depending on what track and what direction it was going, he identified it on this timetable, and then he figured out where all the other trains were based on that.
Whoa.
Yeah, this guy was quite a guy.
But he was
quite a guy.
But he was crazy. Not like my guy who was totally chill.
He was crazy, but in that like engineer gnome kind of way.
Like
cool nerd, but
yeah, the guy I found was just kind of an awesome guy all around.
But
the thing
anyway,
is, how come I can never like find some cute 20-something girl flying a kite a mile in the air who also makes exhibits at the Hall of Science?
They're out there.
And is standing there. But I don't see. I haven't found them.
Keep biking.
Yeah.
But yeah, PAX. Back from PAX. PAX East 2012. It was, I don't want to say it was the best PAX ever, but it was the best PAX East ever. For me, I had the best time. You got sick.
I did get sick.
Which colors your experience.
It does indeed color my personal experience.
Because
but looking at the PAX itself, trying to judge it as a PAX East,
it was pretty good.
I guess it was better than the previous PAX Easts. I think I must agree.
There have only been how many PAX East, Scott?
This is only the third one.
Yes.
So
and let's see. If we judge them based on keynotes, well, Jaffe was that was Prime.
That's not that's not East. The 3 Easts are Wheaton, McGonagall, and Jordan Mechner.
Yeah. McGonagall still pretty much wins that tournament.
Yeah, I think actually I like Mechner's material better, maybe but I think that's only because I knew McGonagall's material already. But Mechner's delivery was not as great because he was all nervous.
McGonagall has a sort of like I am almost giving a TED Talk demeanor that really draws you in, even though you already know what she's gonna say.
She had experience giving a TED Talk.
Oh.
That might have something to do with it.
It was weird that Mechner opened it up to questions.
That was very weird. Yes,
but
I think that also gets some minus points.
I was
some of the questions were okay.
That less than 80% of the questions were awful.
That's true.
Some of them were awful. But the percentage was way better than I would have ever hazarded a guess. And I think it's only because people were too intimidated to ask the really stupid questions.
At the keynote, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's easy to ask a question at some panel. It's not easy to ask a question at the keynote.
Yep. But it was the best PAX East that I personally have attended from my own personal experience because, one, by not doing three panels at the PAX. I had a lot more time to just dick around and play
I think
games.
that's another thing is that even also having to go to Anime Boston definitely hurt the personal experience.
I think it hurt you because that was at your sort of like you were approaching peak sickness.
Yeah,
Because after that, you didn't come out and game with us. You went to bed.
I did indeed.
And after that, we kept gaming until like 3 a.m.
Yep.
So basically, everyone like reconverged from dinner and we played games all night long in the Westin.
Right.
But let's see, highlights. We're not going to do a whole show dedicated to PAX because
You're
if
gonna
you
say
listen
the same things we've always said.
yeah, we're not. There's no reason for us to say, go to this, go to that, go to all that stuff. So what was different about this PAX? One, I feel like we're kind of dumb. Because we did that PSA, we planned all ahead of time. We figured out the easiest way to catch an existing PAX counterfeit badge, and we had a picture of the new badge. So we knew that also, there's 2 holograms, one embedded, one a sticker. So we made a pretty good PSA on the best way to catch a counterfeit badge. I did not think of UV paint. I did not think of a UV watermark. I can't believe I didn't think of that. It's so obvious in retrospect.
Well, the thing with the UV thing is I had thought of it, but I was like, well, that's usually something that you put in a stamp on someone's hand. It's like, how do you get it into a plastic thing? But I guess we have that technology. And how do you check them in bulk? It's like you have to check them one at a time. It's like, where are they going to check them?
So it was shown to me early on, like on Thursday, I was like, yeah, we made that PSA. Check it out. You can just rip it in half. And then an unnamed enforcer was like, yeah, we got a better way. And this person pulls out a little pen that's a UV light and is like, "Bit-a-bit," and I see the logo, the extra bits on my badge.
Yeah.
And
basically, the badges had this little strip, and if there was UV light, these little space invaders would start glowing.
Now the thing is,
and they were really cool looking.
Immediately, I thought, all right, so they'll do this at choke points because the kinds of people.
Yeah, but they didn't check them going into like the keynote or anything.
But they did check them going into the expo hall.
But they only checked them at certain expo hall entrances.
Exactly.
If you went to the back of the expo hall, you could just walk right in.
Exactly. But think about the kinds of people who get the counterfeit badges or something like this. They are expo hall primetime people.
And the other thing they did that was very clever, right, is that instead of like stopping everyone and looking at each and every single badge, they just had this sort of like, if you walked into the doorway, in front of the doorway is like the structure that all these UV lights coming down.
So that was my second
so
revelation.
You sort of felt like you were walking through an outer space airlock thing, but really there was someone looking at every badge in that, of anyone standing in that spot.
I stood there for a while with some enforcers and some security who were checking badges, and no counterfeits came through, but you could see it was obvious had there been a counterfeit.
You could just, at a quick glance, just look at a whole bunch of badges and see Space Invaders.
So I didn't
and all
notice
of them.
those. So it was, I think, Friday night. I was staggering back from something. Like I went out to the hotel room. I'm on my way back, and I walked by that thing, and I'm like, why is that black? Oh, I'm stupid. Duh.
So, it's like you can try if you're a counterfeiter to do this, but it's like, how are you going to figure out what pattern to do before the convention?
So
you have to get a real badge, right? For to actually buy one, because you're not going to find a picture of the thing online with a black light. And then you've got to like manufacture the badges with that exact thing in the exact right place. That's not going to be easy to do in a short amount of time.
And the thing is, even if they get all that right, our tear test still works because no one's going to make a plastic badge.
And even if you put all the money into manufacturing it correctly,
that's going to eat into all your profits.
Yeah, you're not going to make that much money selling the badges. So yeah.
They pretty much, I think our PSA said it best. Guys who run non-PAXs, there's really no excuse not to mail your motherfucking badges. Jesus.
That's right.
But, yeah, I mean, the counterfeit thing, a highly placed source tells me that they caught less than 10 at the entire con.
Yeah, I did not hear about any major counterfeiting problems.
Less than 10. I did not personally see any, and the confidence level is high that 99+% of the counterfeit badges that existed were caught trivially.
Yep.
Whatever, PAX sold out except for Sunday badges. I'm pretty sure they did not sell out of Sunday.
Because it's Easter, and there was I think a lot of people bought Friday, Saturday, but not Sunday.
Well, the thing is, here's what I think happened. And I still, every year, I tell the people I know at PAX that, in my estimation, they should not bother selling single-day badges. Because the majority of the people, in my opinion, my guess, who buy single-day badges buy Friday, Saturday, Sunday because they couldn't get a 3-day badge.
I think there's another group of people that buys Saturday or Friday, and they just come for the one day, and that's it.
But I think they're a minority, and
I did see a lot of people wearing single-day badges who did not also have other badges attached at the time, but they may have had the other badges in their room.
So I
days.
talked to some of those people. When I saw single-day badges, I was like, hey, and I asked them.
did see, though, of course, also quite a few people who had all 3 single-day badges on one lanyard.
I have another supposition based on the people I talked to. One,
anecdotal evidence,
I'm pretty sure a lot of the people who had single-day badges, since it was expensive to buy all 3, just got 1 or 2. They'd rather have come for all 3 days, but since they couldn't come for all 3, they got just 1 day. A lot of people were like, yeah, I couldn't get a 3-day, so I just got a Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
I think they should just get rid of the single-day badges.
I've thought that for a while. It's not news.
Yeah. I mean, Otakon got rid of them. One of the few smart things they've done in recent memory.
Yep.
The keynote was pretty good. I don't really want to play Death Bounce. Seriously,
I played
Jordan.
Death Bounce. It sucks.
Jordan, you didn't have to do that.
It's already online. It sucks. Some guy made a...
But it did prove the Eric Cartman principle, that all you have to do is say something that exists is not available, and people suddenly will not only want it, but launch a campaign to get it and to give you money for it.
I think that's, while, Death Bounce is like, okay, so whatever.
It should be in, Scott, I'm going to quote someone. You should know who I'm quoting. This should be in a museum.
Right. The thing is, it's like, no matter whether something's good or bad, or just, it could be a stick figure that, it has any significance whatsoever. It's people we can't stand to have information, especially art, not available and out there. It's like, it doesn't matter what it is. We need to preserve all of humanity because we have learned this. Humanity. There's a lot of lessons that we failed to learn. No matter.
Number 1 is failing to learn lessons.
Of course. But there is a lesson that we have, people often forget the lessons we have successfully learned and have not forgotten. And the first lesson was the Library of Alexandria, right? Someone's gonna burn it down, so everyone keep one in your house. That way they can't burn all the houses down, right? And this is something we've done a very good job of.
Yep. Well, I mean, look at how many people still want, and they're up there, the beta episodes of Geeknights from like September 2005.
Yeah,
and earlier.
In learning that lesson, they're out there.
They're out there.
They're available.
Yeah, you can get them. They're.
I checked rather recently. They're there.
I listened to the first one that's up. I think I might have a couple from before then on my hard drive, but we never published those ever. Maybe I'll put one of those up somewhere.
Put them up there. Like, come on.
I should. I gotta dig them up. They're on a hard drive.
That's Geeknights Death Bounce.
Yeah, they're on a hard drive over there.
Yeah.
But, they're pretty horrible. Oh, my God.
Just like Death Bounce. Real horrible.
Yep. But all in all, his talk was great, and in the sense that I really like to hear more about, these sort of details of, like, how these people made their way through the gaming industry who are technical and know how to make games, who aren't just, like, producer-y types.
Yeah. Well, the one thing, it's like he pretty much had a very similar story to many other game development
Notice how when people were like,
people.
When money came up, he basically, without saying it, said, yeah, I'm super rich. I don't have to worry about anything.
But at the same time, right, he also admitted something that a lot of these entrepreneur, startup-y guys don't admit.
That he fucked up and lost all his money?
Right, which is that he did risk it all multiple times, and he was ass broke, almost homeless, $0 broke.
Look at how many times
once
he
or
was
twice. And that's the reason I don't do that shit, because I am not going to eat ramen and live on the street.
Look at how many
there's no
times he gave up on games and did something else.
There is no guarantee that you will end up rich later like he did. A lot of people who go for it just end up broke, and that's it. End of story.
Yep. But most of the successful entrepreneurs I know have lost millions on previous ventures along the way.
Yeah, but those are the people they're not risking it all because they already have millions from something.
I would risk.
I'm talking about the people who have normal money or even less than normal money.
Yeah.
And then they go and try to start something, and then they're broke, and then what?
But I point out
there's a lot of those people.
He
and you
spent
never
his
hear
million on that. Like, it wasn't like he had normal and he went for it. He had million and went for it.
But he spent the whole million.
Yeah. Well,
you're talking about the people who have multi-million who spend $1 million. He had the $1 $1 million and you spent the whole thing?
I would spend my whole million, but it'd have to be on the right thing.
If I had the whole million,
Tribes 2-2.
that whole million.
Thing
would,
is, a million
no.
wouldn't buy a Tribes 2-2.
I'm just saying, my whole million, if I had one, would be in the guarantee that I could go to the tropical island million, and I would not spend it. I would need more than 1 million. You know, once the tropical island is guaranteed and locked in, then the rest would go to charities and risky things and all that sort of stuff. But it's up until I've got that beach locked in place, it's not going anywhere.
So the Expo Hall was an Expo Hall. They made it bigger by cutting into the wasted space.
Yeah, and the thing is, while they made it bigger in square footage-wise, it seemed like there were fewer larger booths. There were a lot of really big booths that took up a fuck ton of space.
I think
and I ignored the big ones and only checked the small ones.
Some of the highlights of the Expo Hall was, I guess, Spider Goddess Vagina.
Yeah, that's the kind of stuff that took up way too much room, like that Borderlands 2. How much space?
But it was telling.
How much space did they use on like giant statues?
Then I walked in and I see that there, and I'm thinking to myself, great, it's Lalt's vagina.
Right,
like,
and of
for
course
real.
Rim knows all about this.
Yeah, and Scott's like,
Rim's the expert.
Yeah, it
We
says
go
something.
in and there's like a giant spider statue, and I'm like, what is this? And Rim's like, well, let me tell you all about the lore of the Forgotten Realms. I happen to be 100% expert. You knew as much about that spider as that dude knew about kites.
I know. The scary thing is I haven't played D&D in like 7 or 8 years.
And it's still the same shit.
Yeah. Some stuff has changed.
Rim's 7-year-old D&D knowledge is still 99% accurate. That shows you how creative those WotC people are.
Some things have changed. I heard that there was some disaster that befell Everesca, which kind of pisses me off.
But you know it. So your knowledge is still up to date.
And I think the Shadow Kingdom rose in the north.
Right, look at how much Rim knows about this bullshit.
Out of the old Netherese ruins. Some lich or something. Yeah, you know what?
Why don't we play a game in this universe you're so knowledgeable of?
You know what? We should. We should play a Burning Wheel game in that universe.
Burning Realms or Forgotten Wheel?
That's what...
I'd like Forgotten Wheel.
I guess the other highlight...
No, wait. Forgotten Wheel. I pronounced it improperly.
Forgotten.
That's right.
So GeekChic was there, but I think they had a funny bit.
Boba Fett.
And I got one because it was worth it. They were monocles, like thing on a chain, but it was a monocle mustache.
Yep. That was a good deal on them because they sort of realized, hey, we're selling these fancy tables. We get a lot of attention at the conventions, but we're not making any money because only very few people are going to shell out thousands of dollars for a table.
Well, and they can't manufacture them that quickly, so I think they already have a backlog.
Yeah, it's like if you try to order one of those tables, you're in line, basically, and you might get your table like a year from now. So, you know, not a lot of people, even people with the money, some people don't sign up because they're impatient.
Sell stuff that nerds care about.
Yeah.
They got wooden axes, wooden
something
swords,
else.
monocle mustaches.
Come up with something else you can sell for a lower price that, you know, all those people who come up to your booth because it's so attractive will spend money on.
I was a little annoyed that there were a lot of the more indie people this year, more so than other years, at least in my perception, were trying that hard sell bullshit on me.
Really? I didn't notice that.
Like
so much.
I'd be walking by and they'd be like really trying to like make me come and play their game that I already didn't care about.
I think part of that was that a lot of those, like a good portion of the indie type booths, it used to be like, hey, check out my indie game. Now it was more like, you know, even though they were a small booth, right, and they were sort of okay, they look like an indie. It was really some guy trying to sell his iPhone game, you know?
Yep.
And it's sort of like he's less indie than full indie.
Well, what is indie?
There's no definition.
I know.
Right? But, you know,
no, let me put it this way.
I'm just saying, you know, regardless of what word you use to label it, there's a difference between that guy who made a game in his basement and he saved up to buy a PAX booth and is sharing it with 2 other people, you know, or something
Scott,
like,
I see where you're going with this.
Spy Party.
I'm going to say something a little simpler.
Angry Birds.
Monaco impressed me more than any similarly placed game I saw in the Expo Hall
Monaco,
this year.
I got to point something out about Monaco, right? So we interviewed that guy on this show, right? And that game has been coming out for years.
I would have bought it as it was back then.
It won like some IGDA award, like a long time ago, right?
Dude, I would give you $50 for what it was a year ago.
So it feels like this game has been taking forever to come out, but the reality is that it actually, you know, the guy tweeted about this. He's only been working on it for like 2-3 years, and the fact is most games take longer than that.
Yeah.
And it's the only reason it feels so long is because he's been so public. He's had the game out there in like its earliest versions.
Yeah, I mean, remember we
You
were
know?
talking to him, and he was
Imagine
like,
if
yeah, it wasn't that long ago. The game was grids, like step.
Yeah, imagine if Nintendo showed you like what they were working on all the time. We would be looking at a game now that wasn't going to come out for like 5 or 6 years that was meant for the Wii U. And
But
it would feel like, when is this thing coming out? That's why they don't announce it for so long.
my point is simply that Monaco...
To finish the point, Monaco has changed drastically over this amount of time. He's been working on it consistently. It's not some vaporware. It's right.
Yep.
There's progress, huge amounts of progress, and you can see it. Whenever you see this game at a convention, you can see the incredible progress. The Monaco that I saw at PAX was 20 times better than any Monaco I have seen previously.
And the last Monaco I saw was something I would pay money for already.
I want it more than I ever wanted it. And the 2 or 3 times I was near the booth, every time I was near the Monaco, I didn't actually go up to it because it's Monaco. I knew I didn't need to spend time on it. There was crazy crowd and crazy excitement.
People were
all the
yelling
time.
and screaming, oh!
Yeah, I'm all about Monaco. Still,
Well, I saw
even
him.
more. I was all about it. Now I'm even more all about it.
Because we were that crowd was like, around it, and I saw him standing there, and as soon as the crowd went, oh, he had this little smirk like, I got this.
You can tell that he has refined it so well. I mean, when this game has it just creates such excitement all the time that it's a winner.
But this is, I guess, my point. Monaco at Prime impressed me more than pretty much anything I saw at PAX East Expo Hall. Most of the indie games that were real, like the one that got a lot of buzz. Two games that got a lot of buzz. One was indie and one wasn't. That once I looked at them, I didn't care anymore.
Well, there were the 2 Square Enix ones.
Yeah,
right?
people were like, yeah, there's this Final Fantasy rhythm game. I was like, what?
It was pretty much just
Crap.
a normal, rhythm game, sort of like Elite Beat Agents or Hatsune Miku
Which
Project Diva.
I'm already tired of that genre.
Generic tapping on the cymbals rhythm game.
It's really one step above pop
But it
music.
happened to have Final Fantasy nostalgia in the background as the pictures.
That was it. I was so excited
if
about
I'm going
it.
to play one of those, I'll just play the Hatsune Miku one, or maybe
DDR. Just go all the way back.
Exactly, right? The other game was also Square Enix. It was made by the lady, I think, who made Nervacular Drop, which was the game that Portal came from. And it was like Quantum Conundrum, I think. And it was it didn't look like it had, I mean, I didn't look that closely at it. I didn't wait in line to play it.
It looked cool.
It looked cool, but it didn't look like it had that drastic innovation. It was a typical 3D first-person clever puzzly game, throw the object into the other area, then somehow figure out how to get in that area without dying, and, the typical kind of stuff. And I was like, I think it had some sort of, quantum aspect to it. That was unique.
It was in 4 dimensions, I think.
Was it? No,
Yeah.
that was a different. It might have been the same, also in 4 dimensions, but the 4-dimensional game I saw was like an isometric view game. That was a different game.
Oh yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
No, the other game I was going to talk about, because a lot of people were talking about it, but then when I saw what it was, it was on the level of the push blocks around games that I played as shareware on my computer 20 years ago. The Not Without You, the little blue things trying to escape from the lab. You had to get all the guys into a red door at the same time. You talked about it with me at length, and I know this because I was going over the video
I do remember
from
a game
PAX.
called Not Without You.
Scott, I was going over the video at PAX. You and I were standing, watching this game, having a conversation about it. In fact, you said, wow, this looks like it would be great as part of some other game, but it's not a game by itself.
I'm looking it up right now. Oh, this one. Oh,
yeah.
The one that was just friggin' little miceies walking around, and that was it.
But the thing is, the way people talked about this game, it was like this great indie game, and I looked at it, and it was a really, interesting theme on top of what amounts to, one puzzle in a Zelda dungeon.
Yeah, this is the kind of thing that would be like, when you play Layton, there's always that like extra attached puzzle, like the hamster puzzle.
Yeah, this is that.
This is that. So, but it's the whole game. That's it. And it's like, oh, there should be more here.
Yeah, it wasn't clever enough for a game that small, in my opinion, to warrant the attention it was getting. But then again, all the attention it was getting was like people talking. In the expo hall, no one was there wasn't a big crowd around the game the few times I walked over there.
So anyway, it's a whole lot of PAX talking. Is there any other PAX things to bring up?
I just want to note we played a lot of the game we'll talk about in the second half of the show. Tabletop was rocking, but they reconfigured the area a little bit, and as a result,
they should take some area away from the queue room still and give it to more tables.
Yeah, the queue room's still only half filled. That could have been more tabletop because tabletop was pretty fucking full most of the con. But yet, despite the fact that you could see secret tabletop from regular tabletop, secret tabletop always had free tables. Even though there were people like looking for tables in normal tabletop.
Yep.
It's like, guys, have you not figured out that you can go sit at those tables and play games? They're right there.
I also want to make a note. Reaper Miniatures, they always have that thing that's like paint a miniature.
Oh my God, there was like a 45-minute line.
They've had
for
this
that.
at every PAX I've been to. They have not changed their strategy at all. And it's pretty much the deal is you walk up, you get a free miniature, and then you paint it for free, and then you leave.
Brilliant.
They've done this for years. Only this year there was a crazy line for it.
Because it was in a good location.
At PAX West, you can just walk up and do it whenever you want. It's been there the whole time.
Well, Scott, there's more people at PAX East.
I know, but suddenly it just got crazy popular for some reason.
So I made more inquiries into the BCEC because remember last year I acted as press and tried to get them to give me their fire code numbers and they wouldn't give them to me.
Yep.
So I've done pretty good authority that the BCEC right now has about the same capacity that the BCC in Baltimore did before they added the Hilton.
Mm-hmm.
So around 26,000.
All right.
So it means PAX is about the size that Otakon was before they expanded the Hilton.
That seems about right.
Yeah. So it's about Otakon size, which is just interesting to know. Anime Boston was only a few thousand under that, but it was in the Hines.
But Anime Boston was way bigger than it's been before. It was 22,000.
Yep. But when I went over to Anime Boston, because the Hines is so tiny, you couldn't walk. Like I could not walk through the halls.
Yeah, it was very crowded there.
Granted, the only parts of Anime Boston we saw were the Reg Room and the panel room we were in that was in the same hallway as the Reg Room.
That was all Sheraton parts.
Yeah.
Remember, Anime Boston, though, has the Sheraton, which gives them additional space above the Hines.
Yep, but
which
not that much.
The first PAX East did not do.
Yeah.
It's not that much space, but it is still space.
But no,
it counts as something.
We took a cab over there, did our 2 events, and then left. We did the Geeknights Tabletop Workshop, which was packed. Like, people got turned away.
Yeah, crazy.
I was really... And the thing is, we taught some hardcore board games, and it was hard to tell because, Scott's teaching Puerto Rico, which takes exactly 40 minutes. And the crowd was just silently watching, no reaction.
They were, like, smiling and nodding, and I'm like, you guys got this?
The whole time, though, I was like, are they just, like, looking for an excuse to leave? Because no one was like...
They weren't leaving. They were looking at me. They were paying attention, as far as I could tell, but... I was like, is this working? And then they were able to play Puerto Rico. So
my God, yeah. And Carcassonne, same thing. But then when I sat them down, we got all these games at Carcassonne and Puerto Rico going. It was a riot. We were doing that at every PAX.
Yeah.
In fact, we're going to step it up, I think, at PAX Prime.
Yep, for sure.
But we did a money-making game. It went really well. I should be able to get it up on YouTube. And we actually got a lot of feedback from it, or from people who went to it, even though we didn't take any questions. And actually some game devs came up and they're like, yeah, I didn't think about that.
No one thinks about that.
One guy said something great. He came up to me. He was like, I know I got to leave. I know you're in a hurry because we literally were booking the Anime Boston like right then. He was like, I just realized that I ruined my vision. That's all he said. And he was like, thank you. Maybe I can fix it. So, dude, whoever you were, I didn't get any contact info. I want to know what game you were working on.
Yeah.
I want to know if we helped you, if it was too late. The things of the day.
So, it's been a while since we've done an episode.
Been a while?
Yeah, since then, the baseball has started. And
baseball.
most people don't care about the baseballs, especially those who listen to the nerdy shows.
Yeah, you should, but that's a separate argument. We've had that before.
Whatever.
Well, no. Sports, not baseball.
Even Rim's hating on the baseballs.
I really just don't give a shit about baseball anymore.
Anyway, here's a funny video about Mets seasonal affective disorder, which I have.
It's a real thing.
I want to educate you about my disease. Like everyone who has a disease wants to educate everyone about it so they know all about it. Well, here's the disease I have. It's only the only reason it doesn't seem like I have it is because I also have another disease, which is oh fuck yeah, the sun's out, which counterbalances.
But well, there's also Stanley Cuppies, which always keeps me happy for like 6 months after they happen.
It's right now.
Yeah.
So,
But the thing is, that video, as funny as it is, could have been just one picture of that little baseball dude, and I would have, because it's kind of like mocked up like the Prozac ad.
yep.
So I would have been like, Mets.
Yep.
Thing is, I didn't understand. But now I live in Queens, and it's like I inherited Mets fandom just by moving here. It's like I got infected with it.
It's an area of effect.
I know. AOE.
AOE damage.
So I got 2 things today. Because I can't just, Scott said it'd be cheating to use my main thing of the day. So my secondary one, on the New York subway, occasionally some indignant person will get into a bitch fight with someone else who cares who's at fault. These fights are always stupid. But it happens. And this is a video of a guy who breaks this fight up in possibly the best way you can break up a fight, short of pulling your pants down. I wish he had pulled his pants down. That would have sealed the deal. But this is just great, and the look on his face. But so my real thing of the day is something that we orchestrated at PAX, because every year we always try to come up with something we can do with the Q&A that'll be funny, but there's a line.
Well, the thing about the Penny Arcade Q&A at PAX is not really a Q&A. There are no cues that Mike and Jerry have not aimed.
Well.
Right?
So at the first, I want to say one thing. At the first PAX East, it was mostly cues from fans. This was the first time they'd ever seen them in person.
Exactly.
But now it's like Prime. It's one chance. You get a microphone and one chance.
If you are such a fan of Penny Arcade specifically, and you're not at PAX just for gaming in general, right? You already know everything there is to know. There is very few cues you can A, unless it's something recent, like you have a question about something that happened in a recent Penny Arcade TV episode,
or you're trying to ask, or you're asking them a question to try to get them to do something.
Well, that's what I was gonna say. Is that so? It's not really a Q&A, even though that's what it's called, because there are very few cues left unaided.
They should rename it.
What it is it's more of a request show. Like you call into the DJ and say, play this song. That's what it is. You go up there and you don't really cue. You instead sort of prompt. It's like, hey, you're up there. This whole point of the reason we're all in this room is because you're entertaining guys and we want you to entertain us right now, but you don't have any specific thing to do to entertain us. It's not like this is that Acquisitions Incorporated where you have planned out your D&D to entertain us with.
So it's
more
not
the make a strip where you're going to make a strip to entertain us with.
It's more like a game of verbal volleyball where everyone comes up to the mic and puts up a set.
Right. It's like, it's like, tell us how, you need to tell them what they should do to entertain you. And you need to tell them a good thing. Otherwise, it's not going to be very entertaining. So you got to go up and be like, hey, guys, if you did this, it would be really awesome right now. If you did this, it'd be awesome right now. Right.
Well, it's also, I would liken it almost to holding court. It's like, now is your chance. The audience with the king.
Yeah, exactly.
The king will listen to you for maybe 30 seconds and then pass judgment.
That's right. And the king is pretty good in his judgment.
Now,
he's like, whoa, enforcer, scary dude, get him out of here.
There is a great moment where, to talk about the line, you can try to pull funny shit here, but there's a line beyond which you're kind of an unfunny, attention-whoring douchebag.
Right. It's like, even if you're good at it and you're doing something that is entertaining and well done, it can't be about you. And even no matter how good it is, if it's about you, it's wrong, because I think I'll steal Mike's own joke. It's the Penny Arcade Expo. It's not the Geeknights Expo.
Yeah.
Right? It's about Penny Arcade. You have to make them look good, not you.
So we always try to come up with, some fun thing to do. Like we did the Action Castle thing that one year.
They have no idea that,
every year it's us.
It was the same people doing all those things.
We did it. We flew John St. John in on our own dime and made him to get up there.
That's right.
So this year, what we did, and we thought of it at the last second.
It was my idea.
It was Scott's idea.
That's right.
At the last second.
And thanks to Pete I knew he would have it, and he managed to pull through. He's so reliable.
So Scott simply asked them to read a book to us. In the book...
Well, I was going to be like, hey, look, my original thing was like, hey, I'll give you this book if you read it to us. But he's like, oh, we have that book. And I'm like, oh, well, will you read us this book? Because I know they'd be really good at reading books, especially Jerry. And it's a children's book, so it'll only take like 3 minutes. So I said, hey, and he read us the book. and he did a really good job.
It was one of my highlights of PAX.
Perhaps the best job that could be done.
There's that moment at about 2 minutes and 48 seconds that I can tell because I get the Google Analytics. People keep rewatching that. I can see that you're rewatching it, people. There's this big hump in audience retention right there.
Nice.
So that is my thing of the day. In the meta moment, ZenkaiCon's coming up. Be there doing some stuff. Unless I suddenly go to Turkey, in which case I'm sending Scott on his own.
Well, you're not sending me. I'd be going on my own. And would I even go? How would I get there?
Well, if I bail because of Turkey, I think I have a legitimate excuse. If you bail because of well,
but how would I get there?
I don't know.
I need Scott Johnson to come get me.
You have money.
From a
take a
train station.
Just get your own car.
Where am I gonna get a car from?
Get a zip car.
Why would I pay all that just for
Because it's really useful.
Yeah, but that's a lot of money for something I'm gonna use once.
It's not that much money. Anyway,
a lot of monies.
Kineticon is coming up in some time, but if you want to do a presentation at Kineticon, you know who's in charge of panels, workshops, ballrooms, everything but main events in terms of programming? Us guys.
You know what? It sucks because we don't have enough submission.
If you submit an event and you're a Geeknights listener and there's evidence that you were cool and the event is also cool, there's a good chance you'll get a panel room or a workshop room to do your shit in.
I'm going to be completely honest with you. We're really kind of somewhat desperate.
Scott, we're not that desperate.
We're still slightly desperate. If you submit something and you're totally,
Scott,
we're not sure about you, we might give you some crack ass of dawn Friday slot to fill in the schedule.
Well, I'll put it this way. We're not as desperate as you might be making it out to be because you have not seen the guest and gaming panels that are all happening that are being handled through another department that I'm handling all that.
That is true, but we do have more rooms than last year.
Yes, Kineticon this year is going to be kind of awesome for one big reason. We have 11 pretty sizable panel rooms.
Maybe we should try to find get the screenings to move out of the hotel.
No.
One of those rooms.
No, because they have their own rooms.
Yeah, but those are tiny rooms.
Yeah, no one goes to those
because they're hidden and where no one can find them.
No, because no one goes to screenings at cons anymore unless they're premieres.
They were in a good room.
No.
Yeah.
No. Plus, they want that stuff to go all night. That's why they put it over there.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah,
that's true.
That's why I do this side of the planning and you do the other side of the planning.
We should do something. I feel like we should use. You have these extra rooms. I feel like we could do something in them that's different.
We're gonna fill them. Don't worry. I got stuff to fill them with. Anyway, and PAX Prime and PAX Dev are coming up. I think I'm going to PAX Dev just for I want to see. Even though I'm not gonna name names, but 3 game developers at 3 different major companies told me PAX Dev was pretty meh itself, but they qualified that by saying that the gaming that happened in the Westin after PAX Dev was epic. I might go just for that.
I have to see. There's the vacation day situation.
Well, I can just go. I mean, in fact, I'll probably
There's the money situation.
My company will probably let me go. If I can swing something.
We'll see.
Yeah.
I'd like to, but
I'll go
if I.
Plus, I will be a legitimately for real published game publisher by that point. Due to something I'll talk about in a bit.
Well, I don't want to say something to be shit talking, but I've shit talked a lot in my day.
Oh, shit talking! It's shit talk time.
I currently have a thing that is half done.
I have a thing that is about 80% done.
I worked on it yesterday. It is to make it half done. It's going to be more than half done after I get home.
I opened Illustrator to work on the layouts for the thing that I'm working on. That's 80% done.
So I'm not promising. I could just stop and shit talk. So I'm not even going to say anything else. I'm just going to say
Other than that, there's a tiny chance if we go to PAX Dev, we will, in a technical sense, both be able to say that we're not just talkers of games.
I guess.
But that we are perhaps doers of games and not shitters of games.
My thing is not a game, but yeah.
Yeah, but we'll see. I was guessing at what you were referring to. It's one of 3 things in my estimation. Anyway. But PAX Prime's coming up. We'll be there. You should be there too. Buyer badges the day they go up.
Oh, yeah, it's of course.
Oh, yeah, and the book club book is Hunger Games. We'll do a show on it Thursday.
I finished reading it.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Oh, I also...
Oh, also what?
Never mind.
What's that? You done?
No.
So, Mafia. I can't believe we never did a show on this.
Did we really never do
I
a show?
couldn't find one in the search. So if it is not, in fact, if we have in fact done a show on it, I'd like to open a ticket with you because our website search doesn't work.
All right.
But
You should use the search that's in the website admin.
so we know the game as Mafia. It was taught to us in sort of a handed down through the generations format at RIT.
I seem to actually remember, like, kids in my middle school would play this, but I wouldn't because I was playing Magic the Gathering. But I remember kids in my middle school played a game called Mafia, and they sat in a circle, and I don't remember anything else about it.
So kids at my middle school played a game they called Mafia that looked similar, but was actually completely different.
Yeah, I don't know. It might have been that same game that they played at your middle school.
It was a game where
I was playing Magic the Gathering.
They'd sit around during the day quietly, and then people would like blink at each other, and there was this whole thing.
No, this was definitely a game where they sat in a circle, so it was much more similar to the game that we play.
Yeah. But Mafia, Werewolf, Assassin, there's a million names for this game, and the game has a million different rule sets. So I think I'll just explain it with the passed down rules and proper nouns that we used from our days at RIT. The game is pretty simple. You get a bunch of friends. 12 is the optimal number, in my opinion. You sit them around. You give everyone a card from like a deck of cards, and most people are just dudes in the village. One dude is the angel, one dude is the archangel, and a few dudes are members of the Mafia.
Oh.
So there's a moderator who usually at RIT was this really creepy dude who made us touch his nipples. Remember that?
What was that guy's name?
I know his name. I'm just not saying it on the show because I don't want to give a first and last name of a dude that I just disparaged on a public show. But suffice it to say, dude, consider yourself thusly disparaged because I had to touch your nipple every time we played this game. It was really uncomfortable and creepy.
I thought it was Vampire Tag we had to touch your nipple.
Yeah, also when he ran Mafia.
Okay.
He'd ask for the cards back. He'd be like, no, in the pocket.
In shirt pocket.
Yeah. So you pass it. So everyone gets a roll secretly. No one knows what anyone else's roll is. You can't show anyone your card. And
That's
then
cheating.
the moderator tells a little story about the Mafia, and everyone has to put their heads down. And then he'll say something like, "My Mafia, wake up!" And the Mafia all raise their heads while everyone else's heads are down. And everyone's like poking at stuff, making noise, so you don't hear like people shirt shuffling. And then he asks the Mafia who they would like to murder. And they all, kind of squabble and point at someone and go head down. And then the angel wakes up and picks a person. And the moderator says publicly something like, "That person is or is not a member of the Mafia." And then the Archangel wakes up and points at someone. And if
you have an Archangel,
yes,
right?
and if the Mafia try to kill the person who the Archangel protected, they don't die. But otherwise, the moderator walks around and then will tap the person on the back who's dead. And then everyone wakes up and the person who's dead flips over their card and you learn that they were just a citizen, hopefully not the Archangel or the angel.
Yep.
And then the townsfolk argue about who to lynch.
Mm-hmm.
The game ends when either all the Mafia die or the Mafia are equal in number to the townsfolk, in which case they just rise up and murder everyone and the town is theirs.
Yep.
And that's pretty much the whole game. Now, during the day, and this is really key, I don't know what rules other people play with, but in my opinion, these are the rules you should use because they make the best game.
But we never use these rules.
We use these rules. Well, I'm not. You're thinking of something separate.
Okay.
I use these rules to a fault. You must use these rules to a fault.
The pointing rule.
The pointing rule must be followed absolutely and without exception.
Yep.
So you can talk all you want, and you can tell experienced Mafia players because they will point with crooked fingers to not trigger the point. If you point at someone,
or they'll fist at people.
Yeah, and then there's fisting jokes. So the way it works is like this. If you can talk all you want, the moment you point at a person, literally that second, everyone has to shut the fuck up. No one is allowed to say a word.
Yep.
The moderator then says, an accusation has been made. Are there any seconds? If no one points to second the accusation within 5 or so seconds, then we go back to talking. But if there is a second, the person accused has 30 seconds to defend themselves. No one else can talk. And then there's an immediate 1, 2, 3 vote. Majority vote, they're killed, flip over their card, and then everyone goes to sleep. You better hope that that's a member of the Mafia.
Well, the Mafia doesn't. The Mafia wants it to kill a person because if they can kill a person, they always kill a person at night no matter what. So if they can, unless the Archangel saves them or something. So if they can kill a person during the day as well, that's a civilian, they're well on the way to winning very, very quickly. You know, because they're killing basically 2 civilians per day.
Now, some of you might be thinking that the game seems easy to solve or is simple. Now, with these rules, it is not easy to solve. It is not simple. And while it would be arbitrary, people are dumbasses, and the psychology actually matters a lot.
The game pretty much comes down entirely to psychology, right? You can just tell most people can't keep a straight face. They can't act. They act differently in one game than they did in the previous game.
Yep, and now even
someone who is talking a lot is eerily silent compared to the previous playthrough.
Now, if you're playing with strangers,
someone that
it
you
works
know
pretty well.
to be nervous is, suddenly talking a lot.
But among friends, like, we played this a lot at RIT. Like,
a lot.
A lot. And it got to the point to where no matter who was in the game, me, Scott Johnson, and our friend Luke Morgan would just be murdered by the townsfolk or the Mafia as fast as possible.
Doesn't matter what
up.
anyone says. We're killing these people on night 1 no matter what.
Just to shut them up, because they're going to make this game a whole production, and they'll win whoever side they're on. If Rim's the Mafia, we're fucked, so let's just kill him. If he's a civilian, we're better off with him dead.
That's right.
The Mafia usually won't kill me, though, because they'd think the townsfolk are going to lynch him anyway, so why should we waste our kill? Sometimes the Mafia would kill me at night anyway, even if I was Mafia, just because. Now, the game is great, and it's super fun. The trouble is, it's really tricky to run, because if you don't just know, like, game design, and you try to balance this game with a number of players other than 12, you're going to fuck it up, and the game's not going to be fun for people.
Yeah, if you have too many Mafias, then the Mafia will just win almost immediately because they'll kill a citizen at night, and then they'll kill a citizen during the day, and then it's over.
Yep.
If there's too few Mafias, it'll be almost impossible for the Mafia to win because, there's not enough of them. And so, it's like, okay, they kill a person at night and they kill a person during the day. But as soon as one of them is found out, it's like, well, there's so few of us now, we're fucked. The other problem, so what you have to do to balance the game out is you have to have the right number of Mafias, and then you have to mix in the other optional roles in the correct proportion, because those are sort of the balancing act, right? It's like, well, an angel, putting that in there, is a civilian, but a more powerful civilian. So you can have one extra Mafia is balanced by having an angel. And then you put an archangel. It's like, well, that also balances off having too many Mafias.
Yep, and now the rub. One, everyone wants to run this game because it seems super fun. Unless you're practiced at this, running Mafia is actually a training skill, I would say.
Yeah, you could, since you know everything and you're sort of you're not even playing, you're just sort of making the game work. It's very easy to ruin the whole game.
For example, he is not a member of the oh fuck.
You said the word he, didn't you? So now someone knows something.
Yep.
Right?
Or you don't remember who the Mafia are.
Yeah, so it's like Mafia, wake up again. I forgot who you were.
And if you start introducing extra roles, if you forget like who the Godfather is, who's the marshal, all this, the psycho killers, all these things.
Psycho killer!
It gets increasingly complicated. And I've seen so many people who think they can run it just fail. You have to have
you walk around and you stand, see people hear your footsteps, and you'll say something like, Angel, is this the person you want to know who they are?
Yep.
And meanwhile, you're standing right near that person. So now everyone hears where your voice is coming from. It's like you got to keep walking around.
Yep. There's all these tricks. I could almost do a separate just Rim show where I explain how to run this goddamn game.
Yep.
And to couple that, inexperienced people will look on, they'll Google around and they'll find dozens of people's rules they've written for this kind of game.
And everyone makes up their own rules, and they're all different.
Yep, everyone calls things by different names.
People don't even call it the same game. For us, it's Mafia, but for other people, it's Werewolf.
And the game's been published because, game mechanics are not really copyrightable.
Yeah, a lot of different companies have printed and sold versions of this game
and
under
some of
different
those
names.
versions, from what people have told me, actually are straight up broken.
A lot of them have a whole bunch of crazy rules in them, like just a whole bunch of made up wild stuff, like crazy cards.
Now,
Woo!
I guess I've run this game enough to where you sort of have this sense in game design of like, for example, there's roles that exist solely to kill a bunch of people in a hurry if you have like 20 people playing to pare the game down quickly. You don't use those rules unless you have a large group of inexperienced players and you need the game to go quickly.
Yeah, you actually need to understand the game just to set up the game, right? Because there's no like strict set of, this is exactly how you should set the game up in every circumstance. There's no document that will tell you that. You need to just sort of know based on the people you have, how they behave, how many of them there are, are they experienced, inexperienced, what setup for the game is going to make the game not suck. You just need to be able to figure that out, and you can't do that if you don't know a lot.
Now, not to go into, I think I could spend a separate show about, how to run, like I said, and everything, but the game's pretty mathematically analyzable, which is interesting because if everyone at the table is smart, then you'd think the game is solvable. And at PAX, because I know people have tried this bullshit before, and I know it doesn't work. But on paper, it should work. So Phil, in this case, was the one who was like, I have a system. And he had this whole system. So the game starts, and he is like, everybody shut up. Nobody point. Nobody do anything. Hear me out. And he starts to explain a system of the angel and archangel without revealing themselves, doing a certain pattern. Meanwhile, the Freemasons, one of them reveals themselves, but the others don't. And it's a great system. And on paper, it's pretty much guaranteed to make the citizens win.
But it doesn't work if the person who is promoting the system is in the Mafia, right?
But the system...
Imagine if Phil had drawn the Mafia card right away.
So, the system has a way to get around that, whereby the person who has to run the system is a member of the Freemasons who comes forward and says to the audience, other Freemasons, stay silent if you agree that I am a Freemason. Because then the only recourse the Mafia have is to step forward and pretend to be a Freemason, which could go very badly for them.
Right, the way Freemasons work is basically there are a few civilians who know that each other are civilians, but it's not all the civilians. It's only a few of them. So there's like 3 civilians, and they know that each other are safe, so they won't vote for each other to die.
Yep. So the system's pretty good, and it's almost identical to a system that many people tried to do at RIT. And it is my supposition, I posit to you all, that it is impossible to actually implement because the system worked for one round. The next round, somebody pointed and then everything went to shit and it was over. The third round...
You basically need to have every single civilian on board with the system in every game, but no one can show anyone their card, so shit will break loose if even one person strays from the path.
Also, you have to be very careful. We talk about this. There's an implied rule in hardcore, sort of tabletop board gaming that you cannot use external implements. If a game does not say you can use a pen and paper, you're not allowed to use a pen and paper during the game.
That's right. And you'll see that in Mafia, what will happen is, you're not supposed, it's a game that really has the honor system. It's really easy to cheat, but people don't because they're not dicks.
So I would argue that if you cheat by accident, that's part of the game.
It depends on how you cheated by accident.
If you say one of the Mafia laugh, well,
that's fine.
Yeah, so
I'm
Scott,
talking about
Scott,
like
at PAX, I'm gonna give you a condition. This happened at PAX. The Mafia, I was doing really well against the Mafia. I was a Freemason. One night, we all went to sleep, and when the moderator said, "Mafia, wake up," while I was tapping, I put up a big middle finger. 2 of the Mafia started laughing. Is that cheating?
No, because the Mafia failed to keep silent. Here's what's cheating, right? Taking a peek.
Yep, no,
while
fuck
you're
you.
sleeping at night.
There is.
That's cheating.
There is a rule I've used where one person is allowed to peek. However, their special role, if the Mafia catch that person, if the Mafia correctly identify, there's a system for this, who is peeking, then that person immediately dies, and usually there's some other punishment for the
Dead
civilians.
people talking.
Yeah, dead people talking. That's you see, players can ruin the game. For example,
That's what I'm saying.
yes.
That's
One
my
of the,
point.
The biggest thing that'll ruin the game is you're killed by the Mafia. All right. The next night, you're sitting there at the table. The moderator says, Mafia, wake up, and you say, fuck you, I knew it. Nope, that probably reveals who it was.
Probably. Also, right, if you have a lot of resources at your disposal, there's a way to play this game that can almost eliminate cheating, which is at night, everyone goes into separate rooms, right? And then, the moderator actually goes around to the Mafia's rooms.
That's a fun. This is kind of an aside. If you are like a counselor or something for like a high school or middle school trip,
Summer camp.
yeah, where there's people in a bunch of cabins or rooms, you can run this game between cabins and rooms to great effect.
Yeah, so it's like basically what you would do is, everyone at night would go to their own room individually. So nobody would be able to see what's going on at night, period, no cheating, right? And everyone would go away to the same room and come back to the same shared space all the time, so there would be no way to tell.
Now, at a summer camp, you got to play this every night. Like, every morning, you get all the kids together.
But the moderator would go to each Mafia's room to get their vote one at a time. And since you don't know what's going on out there, and then at the end, the moderator would go to each room and say, okay, it's morning, and wake everyone up one at a time.
Yep.
Anyway.
But anyway, so the game, you cannot give anyone at the table a pen and paper and leave to use it. If you give anyone pen and paper at the table, the civilians are pretty much going to win. And in fact, what's funny is I was skimming the Wikipedia article on this, and someone in the Wikipedia article said basically the same thing.
Yep.
So there is an advanced way to play that I do want to talk about, because
the real way that we haven't actually played, but we know it's the real way.
I played once or twice at RIT with these rules.
I realized I never did my news.
Oh well.
That's whatever.
Save it. So the way you do that is the Mafia. It's better to run it this way if the game is all strangers, because with all strangers, there's a lot less psychology to take advantage of, so the game will often be very boring until people start to get to know each other. So the Mafia wake up individually. They only wake up together once to see who each other are.
And then that's at the very beginning of the game.
Every night, the moderator does, Mafia number 1, wake up. Who do you want to kill? Go to sleep. Mafia number 2, wake up. Who do you want to kill? If they do not unanimously agree on a person, nobody dies. So they, during the day, have to communicate who to kill in full view of the civilians.
That's right.
That makes the game fucking awesome. However,
it's only good if everyone is awesome.
So
if the Mafia is lame asses and they suck, they're
Scott,
just gonna reveal themselves and get hosed immediately.
I played this way once at RIT with some people like JD and the other people, and here's how it went. Day starts. I was not the Mafia, so I yelled, and I got everyone to shut up, and I said, nobody's allowed to say a motherfucking word every day. Other than to accuse and murder. No talking. And basically anyone who accused and the vote failed, then we voted to kill that person, assuming they're trying to communicate, and we killed all the Mafia right away.
Yeah, of course.
Now that system could probably break down if there were skilled players.
The Mafia would need some winking and some nodding and some shaking, right? But the thing is, you're going to be looking for winking and nodding and shaking and whatnot. I might even wink at people and see if they wink back and then accuse them. Even though I'm a civilian and I winked, right? I was just trying to trap some other Mafia guy. Oh, but I guess he knows who's in the Mafia, so maybe that wouldn't work, but who knows?
I have pulled some shit over the years, like being Mafia, halfway through the game being like, guys, I'm the Angel. He's Mafia, pointing at 2 real Mafia, getting people to lynch them. Everybody trusts me. And then I lead them to death.
Yeah, because they believed you were the Angel, but
The Mafia guys I did that to were pissed, but it worked.
Yeah, who cares? Your team wins. Who cares if you die?
The greatest moment, the only reason to run this game is at the end when the Mafia win, because it's not that often usually the Mafia really win. Usually what I'll do is I'll make everyone sit there, and then I'll say, my Mafia, will you stand up and take a bow? And everyone who isn't Mafia, who was still alive and didn't know, will simultaneously say, motherfucker. Almost without fail. It's brilliant.
Yep.
So we played this at PAX a shit ton late at night, because late at night no one was up for the hardcore games anymore.
I haven't played the game in years because...
Yeah, you were sick when we were playing it at PAX.
Even if I was there when you're playing at PAX, I really wasn't in the mood to play it.
I was.
I pretty much just want to play serious board games now.
I did, but after 1 a.m, I couldn't find anyone else to play a serious board game with.
Oh, as I was in bed.
And I was running this for like 14 plus people. But we played until like 2 or 3 in the morning.
I
on
couldn't
Saturday.
find anyone to play a serious board game with except these 14 people.
So, yeah, none of them would play a serious board game.
They're at
that
PAX.
late.
They're PAX people.
So I go around the corner after the game ends, and I see a similarly large, completely unrelated group playing the like branded Werewolf version of the game. So, and these groups did not interact. We didn't know we were there. So I was like, yeah, we were just playing that around the corner, and we had a fun laugh. So I guess I should shit talk. People wanted me to run the game. I didn't have a deck of cards on me, and I've learned that people just fucking suck and won't remember what the Jack of Diamonds is or whatever.
Yep.
So, you know what I did? I took Rose Bonanza set.
That's cards.
Yeah, and I flipped through the cards, and I pulled out the beans that the pictures fit best, and I ran it with that. But it didn't work at first because people
couldn't remember.
People couldn't remember that the angel was the soybean, whatever. So then I reshuffled it, and I just used the proper nouns from the bean cards. And
so wax beans, wake up.
Yeah, so the Stink Bean Mafia was born, and people got into that shit.
Oh, it's a good style.
My Stink Bean Mafia, what are you doing today? And oh my god, it was brilliant. So
way to style it.
So here's
because it's really a game you could put any theme on, any group where there is one group is trying to kill the other group. Vampires, friggin' outer space aliens. You could put zombies. You could put any theme on this thing, and it works the same way. So
what I'm gonna do is I'm going to publish this for free. Maybe I'll sell for like a nickel if people want a nice printed
I think you just got to
laminated
make
version.
a PDF. Then.
Yeah, I'm going to make a PDF, but I'm probably going to print like 1,000 or 2 and just give it to people who want
you
a physical
have the real
one.
Acrobat, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But basically, I'm going to write good motherfucking rules to this kind of game because all the rules out there suck.
Yep.
And I'm going to just tell you, I'm going to make it to use with Bonanza. And I'm going to print it so that it'll fit in a Bonanza box. So for free, if you own Bonanza and you want to play Mafia, just take my free PDF and keep it in your Bonanza box.
And you should also include a note like, if you don't own Bonanza, you can buy it here, or you can just get cards that say this.
So what I'm debating doing is getting someone to help me make art and just straight up make cards to go with those rules that are my own.
Yeah, you have to come with a different theme than Bonanza, though.
No, I can use Beantown.
Yeah, but you're not allowed,
I'm not going to use...
like, trademarked or
no,
whatever?
So there's no game that I can find. I got to do a little more trademark digging called Beantown that has been... Board Game Geek has no game called Beantown, and I dug around a little more, and I didn't find anything that was related. I found like 8 games called Mafia. Most of them were not the Mafia we're talking about. Most of them were roll your dice, move your mice kinds of games. But I think I'm going to make
Mr. Bean the game,
Yep.
Bean Trader, Beanbag Buccaneers, Mexican Jumping Bean Game, Jelly Bean Jumble, Bean'em, Bean Great Outdoor Sporting Trivia, Beanopoly, Beanbag Toss. Ooh, Beanbag Toss.
Yeah, remember that game?
That's that thing that you buy at the drugstore. High Bond Bundle 12 Mitags, Space Beans, Don't Spill the Beans.
So my thinking is I'm just going to do it for the hell of it because it won't cost me much. I looked into printing like a small deck of custom cards in a case. It is not expensive.
No. Get it from China.
Yeah. So
on some poisonous ink cards.
And the thing is,
made in a factory by small children.
All I need to do really is I need someone to make some bean-themed art. And I'm going for it, because whatever.
Why don't you get a different theme besides beans? There's got to be something better than that.
Well, because I want to cross-market. Yeah, no one likes the bean theme in this house. But everyone I've talked to in person, like at PAX, I was like, hey, if I just made this, would you buy it? They were like, shit, yes. Oh, my God, beans.
Well, you should come up with a different theme besides beans, a new theme that no one has used already.
But see, here's my thinking. I'm going to give away this free PDF of, hey, you want to play this game? And you already own Bonanza? Check it out, beans.
You should make it Giant Robot. There's not a lot of giant robot games.
I just want to make it mostly to
Or
see how these cards actually
make it
look.
furry theme.
Furry?
Yeah.
Really?
People like that.
Yeah, they no. I want the theme to
the
be
main
derpy.
game sells. Why wouldn't the furry game sell? There's not a lot of furry
I don't
games
think
out
the bean
there.
game sells that well.
Cute, and don't make it furry like hot animals. Make it cute animals, like Damako Dobutsu style.
Is that really furry? Because it's only furry if you're filled with internet butthurt. Otherwise, it's just
Come on.
anthropomorphic.
How cool would that be? Like, friggin' snakes, wake up.
See, the thing is,
All right, the rhinoceros. Who do you want to trample
but Scott,
tonight?
what I don't want to lose is the Stink Fiend Mafia, because people got so. I don't think you understand how into that people got by
you
the
could
end of the
just
night.
come up with something else equally good that
Nah,
people would get into.
I'll do beans.
Badger Mafia,
All right,
wake
Scott,
up.
I'll tell you what.
Honey Badger
I'll tell you what.
Mafia.
If you will pay for half the cost of printing this shit, I will let you help me change the theme.
Animals.
You gonna pay?
No.
Well. No creative control.
Fine. Make your shitty beans. Animals are better.
Why don't you make your own Mafia game? We'll both sell Mafia.
I'll just take your game with your Creative Commons license and change to animals.
You're assuming I'm gonna Creative Commons license my rules.
Why would you not,
Maybe I won't.
asshole?
I might just public domain it and go crazy.
Oh, then I'll change all your beans to animals. Yeah, I think Honey Badger Mafia is the bad guys.
The thing is, that stuff aside, my only real goal here is that the stuff that's missing from when people try to make this game a game is that they don't consider the real game theory of the balance.
Of course not.
I have a rubric for, 4 players, 5 players, 6 players, 7 players, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, all the way up to like 30.
Yep.
And I'm going to have a script, like a straight up, if you were the moderator, you say this every time. That you only say this, like this whole script, like a
Yep.
special card the moderator
Because we know how to write
holds.
instructions.
Yeah.
May, will, shall, must. Those are the words.
But all that aside, this is a stupidly fun game to play with your friends.
But it can get played out if you play it too much.
Yeah, but it didn't get played out for me.
It's played
ever.
out for me.
Yeah, but Scott gets played out by everything. Also, he's kind of butthurt because no one will play brass with him.
We played brass. It was a good game.
Yeah, but no one will play it with you again right now.
Why would anyone play it right now?
We got our board game night tomorrow.
Oh, we could play tomorrow.
Yeah, but how are we going to play it? 10 people will probably show
It's
up.
only 3 or 4 players. That's
Yeah.
it. Those
So
are
what
only-
if 5 people show up?
We'll play something else.
Yeah. What if 12 people show up?
We'll play more than one game.
Will we? Will we?
Yes.
We'll see. It is hard to get a good hardcore board game. Though we got nerdy. Scott, bring it to board game night on Friday.
It takes too long for board game night, and it's too hardcore for board game night.
But
I could try it.
we could play hardcore at board
I
game
have
night.
seen other people play it at board game night.
If we are selective, let's try to get people who've already played it to play with us.
Maybe.
Yeah.
You haven't played it, though.
I know. I learn games so quick.
It's a little tricky.
Buy cotton right away.
That's the first step.
All the cotton.
Good luck after that.
I'll at least get that far.
Yeah.
And I swear to God, I never lie in this game. I am not a member of the Mafia. If you kill me, you'll regret it so much.
Sure.
I've said that exact line with a straight face probably 400 or 500 times in my life. And you know what? It's only true about a quarter of the time.
Yeah, that's right. Say the same thing every single game. No one will know.
This has been Geeknights with Rim and Scott. Special thanks to DJ Pretzel for the opening music, Kat Lee for web design, and Brando K for the logos.
Be sure to visit our website at frontrowcrew.com for show notes, discussion, news, and more.
Remember, Geeknights is not 1, but 4 different shows. Sci-Tech Mondays, Gaming Tuesdays, Anime Comic Wednesdays, and Indiscriminate Thursdays.
Geeknights is distributed under a Creative Commons Attribution 3.0 license. Geeknights is recorded live with no studio and no audience. But unlike those other late shows, it's actually recorded at night.